over 50% of the comments was, ask Tucker, what can we do? What can we do at the grassroots? How do we get involved?
I've been thinking so deeply about that because I feel the same way. And people are always like, oh, you do so much. I haven't done anything. I've just sort of sat in my barn and talked into a camera. So I feel the same frustration. Like, what can you do? And I'm not, giving a theology lesson here or anything like that, but I would recommend to everybody the book of Proverbs, which is I don't think really read apart from, really religious people reading it. You certainly don't need to be a religious person to read Proverbs. It's, in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, as Christians say, and it's just a remarkable series of aphorisms, almost like bumper stickers of true things from, traditionally believed from Solomon, the wisest king in history. But one of them is I've never kind of gotten out of my mind, and I'm paraphrasing, I'll probably get it wrong, but it's right around Psalm 20 in that area. It says, effectively, the tongue, your words, hold the power of life and death. And I really believe that. I think words are the most important thing. Of course, I use words for a living, so I have an interest in saying that, but I think it's objectively true. When you tell the truth out loud, everything changes. You change. You become a lot stronger. People can feel the strength emanating from you. But it also changes things. You change other people's minds. You become a force when you decide to tell the truth, really the truth. And also about yourself and in your personal life, just be an honest person, that kind of honesty. If you see something, if you're at work, and they're like, well, and they'll dress it up as DEI or affirmative action or diversity or sensitivity or whatever. They have all these euphemisms for racism. But if you just say, I'm totally opposed to that, and this needs to be a colorblind meritocracy or it won't exist anymore, this country. Saying that at work is enough to kind of cause an explosion. The number one, and you alluded to this in your intro, the number one thing that the right that we need to preserve is the right of free speech. The number one right they would like to take from us before our guns, which is telling. They're more afraid of our words than our guns, and they have right to be, reason to be. They want to make you be quiet. And so not being quiet, and by the way, I don't think it's a license to be nasty or rude. You don't need to be. The most effective moral leaders in history were not nasty or rude. They didn't shout. They just spoke the plain, unadorned truth. They spoke it clearly, and they spoke it without fear. And I think if people do that at scale, whatever their party affiliation, no matter who they voted for, no, this is wrong, and no, I'm not going to go along with it. If they'd done that during COVID, no, you can't force people to take a drug they don't want. Our body, our choice. There's some truth in that. We have bodily autonomy, or else we're slaves, of course. You can brand a slave, you can kill a slave, you can do whatever you want to a slave. You can't do that to someone who you consider fully human, who's a citizen. And we just have to act like we're fully human, and we're citizens. We're free men. And if you act like that, you become it. That is true. It's true for everything, by the way. What is it? Fake it till you make it? Is that the phrase that people use? If you want to become something, act like you are that thing, and you will grow into it. And so let's start by acting like we're free, actually free. Say what you think, not to offend people for its own sake. I don't think that's a virtue, but just to be honest all the time. And if you act that way, wow, everything changes. You change. Your relationships with other people change. I think they get stronger, and you inspire the people around you to do it. That's what you can do. And everyone's like, oh, we need to get this guy elected or that guy elected. Yeah, it's important. Government power is really important. But ultimately, government power reflects, bigger forces, in my opinion, over time anyway. And so change the consensus in the country, one person at a time, by acting like you're free, without embarrassment, without shame. That works.
But there's a huge community of people that tried to speak out, especially during the COVID time. And they started blocking people, they started removing people, canceling people's accounts. And for a lot of people, a lot of normal people, their social media is their voice. And to lose that for speaking out, that was really tough. And now we're in a place where people are so scared to lose their accounts that we self-censor. And I think that's the scariest part of all of it, the self-censorship. So how do you fight through that?
This is obviously an extremely efficient police state that we have allowed to rise up around us. Extremely efficient, more efficient than anything the East Germans ever tried. And that's terrifying and it's bad, but it's not enough to subdue a population. You can't actually subdue 350 million people. It's just not possible. You have to convince them to subdue themselves. And that's exactly what they're doing. There's a famous French phrase from the Algerian War. It translates for the encouragement of the others. So you've got a bunch of prisoners and you want them to give you information. You bring them up in a helicopter and you just push the first guy right out the door and he dies. And the other ones are very encouraged to tell what they know. And that's kind of what they always do. They take some high profile person and they crush him, and everyone else gets the message, which is just shut up or be crushed. And I would disagree with you on one material point, which is I don't think that a lot of people stood up during COVID. I was really embarrassed as an American to see the cowardice on display, the complacency on it. But really, let's just call it what it is. It's cowardice. It's shameful cowardice. And a lot of people I know, and in some cases love, were cowards. And I was probably a coward. I should have said, I did a lot on COVID. I tried to be as honest as I could. But one thing I did not do was say that I didn't personally get the vax. And I should have done that. And my rationale was, well, it's a private decision. I'm not talking about my sex life. I'm not asking you about yours. I'm not going to ask or reveal private medical decisions. That was my position, but that's kind of fake, actually. There was a crisis going on. I had a position of visibility, and I should have said, take the vax if you want. I'm not taking it because I'm really, really concerned about it. It's not tested. It can't have been tested. There's no longitudinal test that could have happened. And we don't have all the data, and it's a new technology that's never been tried at scale. Other coronavirus vaccines did not work. They were recalled because they hurt people. And this is also a gene technology, which seems a little bit spooky. I don't really understand it, but I'm not into it, and I don't want it on my body. All of that is true. None of that should be controversial. I should have said that day one. And I'm not telling you not to take it, but I am telling you don't have to take it if you don't want to. And I didn't say that. I didn't connect it to myself and my own decision, and I really regret that. And I think it would have helped if I had done that. So whatever, do things like that. Just be honest, and maybe you get fired. As someone who's been fired a lot, including when I didn't have enough money and too many children, which was obviously distressing and a hassle and scary. But it's kind of fine in the end, actually. And you retain your self-respect, and maybe more important, the respect of your wife and children, which is essential, absolutely essential for family happiness. You've got to respect dad, or it doesn't work. And so behave in a way that inspires respect. And telling the truth is the number one way to do it, I think.